So far, my experience with the iPad has been really good. It's a new, interesting tool, and it's modern. And so far in our class, we have done research with our taxonomy unit that we're doing.
Well, I have an iPad at home, and I use it for many things like books, and actually I use it for word processing sometimes. I have my current biology book on it that I use while I'm doing some of the assignments as studying.
With the iPad, we would be able to highlight, because with ebooks, you're allowed to highlight and make notes and edit them.
A lot of things has to do with notes. The way I study has to do with notes, and so everything I find, helpful in the book, I write it down, and that's how I study. So if we were able to highlight, copy, paste, put it into something where I could no longer have to write it down but study off a piece of paper that I, say, printed out or just read off the pad, we could do that a lot easier than, spending a whole thing of paper, write notes, where you could just have a notepad and you just categories and all the different notes that you take.
As the coordinator of library services, I've been doing a lot of investigating into ebooks and the future of where books are headed. And it's been real interesting to notice the different formats that publishers are taking. Some are just literally printing a book like a PDF copy. So it's not super interactive. There's not a lot you can do except maybe click on a word to get the dictionary, the meaning of it. It might click to the table of contents or something like that, but there's really not a lot of interaction going on. But then some of the publishers are going above and beyond, and you can also see this happening with some of the textbooks that are being developed. They're making it very interactive. So as you're reading along in the story or in the textbook, instead of just a picture, when you click on it, it would actually take you to a video where you're transported to that site where you can see what they're talking about, or taking you into maybe some science cells where you're looking almost like with a microscope and getting a closer view. And with stories, the same kind of thing. They might take you to the setting of the story or take you into some of the background if it was maybe a historical story, so you could see what's going on and getting the bigger picture and really getting involved in the story instead of just reading along.
Well, it's been a very good tool as far as researching goes, and I've had personally great experiences with it as far as Googling and using the internet in class to find the information that I need to find for our current project.
It is useful because people are experienced with using their phone and experienced with using their mobile devices, and so you kind of know how to research and go on things. So like those skills have been useful with using the iPad, but I know that the iPad is capable of doing more things, on a larger scale than a phone, because it is more like a computer, more like a laptop. And since phones aren't allowed in school, an iPad is a different opportunity that you can use to use research and do research without getting in trouble. So it's useful in that way.
Well, my smartphone's really nice because anytime I come across something that I don't know, I can just pull it up and pull up Google and find the information. It's instant gratification, so to speak.
Benefits would probably be communications between students would be easier. Rather than having to call every single person individually, you can just make a group chat and just communicate back and forth, homework assignments, just information about everything.
I think that keeping the iPad to be able to take it home and access it there would be a huge benefit, because with the hour and a half we have in time, there's a huge limitation.
It's just a lot easier than carrying around a big book. If you have to take your book home every day and bring it back every day, it's really a burden on you because you carrying around all these books where you can have a tablet right in front of you that you can just press a button, and the whole thing's 5 pounds, which you would just carry around with you all day. If you could have something like that, I think it'd be a lot more ideal, personally, because I know we do classroom sets as well. So we do books at home and books in the classroom. So, I mean, again, all that money adds up, and all that, all those resources add up when we can just have a pad that has all of our books and all of our resources on it.
Just the challenges is like learning how to use it and getting the right programs and teaching the teachers how to interact with the students with it, and just different things like that.
A current problem with the iPad at this point is that we don't have a way of giving our information to our teacher and storing it for future reference.
The compatibility with personal computers, PCs, and other laptops that aren't Macs, but otherwise than that, it's not bad at all.
My main problem at home is that I don't get to convert it into a lot of things. For PC, my whole house runs on PC, Windows, and so that's my main problem with the iPad. But other than that, I use it for music, I use it for online, I just basically leisure.
If kids 5 years younger than me are given an iPad earlier than me, I would probably be reading a book on an iPad.
In schools, I see in the future that we'll be totally done with books. Everything will be online on an iPad or, through Moodle or through Edmodo or through programs like that. And eventually we'll become paperless. That's what I see in the future. And I think it'll be useful. I think it'll be a great change for schools.
Binders would be history. I mean, obviously books would be history. We wouldn't need pens, paper, school supplies. Eventually I think that's what our world is leading to, and so to do that now would be beneficial for everyone because that's what it's going to be in the future.
I see the future of books going downhill because the iPad is an eco-friendly and alternative to books because we don't have to print it on paper.
One of the gentlemen that I love to read from is David Warlick, and one of the ideas that he repeatedly emphasizes with 21st century learners is that what people know is a lot less important than what they know what to do with it. In the past, knowledge was something that was reserved for the educated, and often that meant the wealthy because they were the ones that could afford to be educated. But now knowledge is accessible to anybody and everybody that has access to the internet. So even the poorest among us or the least informed among us, they can find answers to the information. They can get information that used to just be reserved for the very elite. And so our students and all of us, we have access to more and more information. So what's really become important is what can we do with all that information? So as teachers or people that work with students, you really need to be able to help them process their information, do things with the information. And that's where the Bloom's taxonomy comes in. A lot of educators will remember that from their days of being in college. But there are some people like Andrew Churches who have taken that further, and they've created the Bloom's digital taxonomy. And in the digital taxonomy, as they have each of the layers of Bloom's, they've tied in Web 2.0 tools, and they've showed the teachers which tool can I use, a digital tool can I use, to help the students reach that level of Bloom's that I'm trying to teach in the classroom.